Totally Extra. Today, Champions League Wednesday edition. Arctic v Mankeys. I can't believe it's Bodo as Village-8 shock City in Europe's cup set of the season. A close second, Spurs beat Dortmund. Let me hear you say, best home record in the Champions League. And with holders PSG tumbling in Lisbon, we're here to round up a Tuesday of surprises in the Champions League. Arsenal masterful in Milan, Real Madrid mullering Monaco and more. All in this Totally Extra. It's Wednesday the 21st of January, by my reckoning. Who's in the studio today? Why? Jack Lang. Hello, Jack.
Hi, James.
Nice to see you back again, Jack.
Lovely to be back, James.
That's great to hear. Seb Stafford-Bloor is literally here in person.
Literally in 3 dimensions. Hello, James.
All right, Seb. Wow, in the flesh. And also fleshing it up here in the studio, JJ Bull.
Hello.
Hi, JJ. Yeah, it's a big week for you, isn't it? You've got a new single out tomorrow.
Huge, James. Huge week. Yeah. Big single. Could change the world, I think.
Well, the world needs changing. I'm going to say that.
Well, I'm trying to.
Your song, not directly kind of planet-altering in its theme, perhaps, but if Dennis Bergkamp can, you can too. I know what that's not referring to, but what's it about?
Well, it's a myriad of themes.
Okay.
It's Bergkamp's one of those players who's like a god, but gods are flawed. So we put all our weight and we hold a lot of time for these people. But you can be let down by them, and you shouldn't. But that doesn't mean they're any less magical. Like the gods can be mortal,
Right.
But that doesn't mean what they do is any less magical.
Why, that's a lot to get into.
These are the things I've been thinking about, and then I start doing songs about like footballer's name, and that's the stuff that comes out while I'm improvising.
Brilliant. Give us a bit.
I'll play it. I'll mime it, and Charlie can play it. What a great song.
Right, this is going to be going through my head all day long now. All day long. If Dennis Bergkamp can, you can too.
If Charlie's got anything about him, he'll put another song in it.
I hope he does.
I have to say, though, as titles go, that's about as misleading as you can get.
Well, I've actually called the title on the Spotify and Apple release, If Bergkamp Can, and because it just made sense.
You probably
shorter.
can't, because he was Dennis Bergkamp, that's why he's special.
Well, exactly, but you can't. But and then I also changed, so the chorus lyric is, it doesn't mean that you can't, but I also changed it to doesn't mean that you can. And it alternates, and I don't know which is which.
Oh, okay.
It's up to the listener to decide what it means. Like all songs should.
Exactly. That's what art should do. It's a challenge.
Exactly. You should interpret it the way you feel.
I love that. Let's have a look at some pretty non-negotiable facts, a.k.a. the Tuesday results. Early on Tuesday, Norwegian Blues for Man City, beaten by Bodo Glimt. That's Bodo Glimt's first ever Champions League victory. 3-1, they did Pep's side. City, of course, had Rodri red-carded when they were already 2-0 down, and that's now back-to-back defeats. In fact, it's only 2 wins out of their 7 games so far since the turn of the year. Woof. Things went a lot better for their Premier League title rivals, Arsenal, who were 3-1 winners away at San Siro against Inter, the Serie A leaders, while their North London neighbours Spurs produced another surprise, beating Borussia Dortmund 2-0. Seb was there to see Dortmund going down to 10 men, and Spurs climbing to 4th in the Champions League, ahead of Wednesday's games. The rest, holders PSG, got beat 2-1 away at Sporting Club de Lisbon. Real Madrid emerged from their recent turmoil by thumping Monaco 6-1. Olympiacos beat by Leverkusen 2-0. Napoli continued their dismal European form, drawing 1-1 away at 10-man Copenhagen. Ajax kept their slim chances of reaching the playoffs alive with a 2-1 victory at Villarreal. And Club Brugge went to Kairat and beat them 4-1. Where do we begin? With the Bodo battering. Joining us now from Norway is Martin Sleipnes of Enkel Servering.
Yes, good pronunciation.
Oh, thank you so much, Martin. Hello again. Yeah. We met in Oslo many years ago.
Yeah.
That was a great night. But I'm going to say that for Norwegian football fans, Tuesday was even better. What a result for Bodo Glimt.
I think it's kind of hard to describe the magnitude of that result because Bodo Glimt, or Glimt as we call it, we just call it Glimt. As you know, they're in Champions League, the first Norwegian team in Champions League in nearly 20 years. Yesterday was the first win by a Norwegian team in Champions League for nearly 20 years, which is insane. And to do it against City, It's hard to describe, to be honest. Bodø is a town with 42,000 people living there. The Etihad alone holds 10,000 more people, and impossible to describe. Also, Tottenham, as you know, where they were in Bodø a couple of months ago, and we scored an own goal to let them get away with a 2-2 draw. So it felt like we had to get one victory during this group phase of Champions League.
Wow.
And this was it.
It was it, wasn't it? Them even getting into the Champions League was presumably a huge deal for Glimt fans. And then getting this game against one of the toughest or one of the wealthiest clubs around when you hadn't played a competitive match in over a month. Was that one of the reasons, do you think, why they were able to do so well against City?
It's an interesting question, to be honest. Glimt had a 3-week vacation since the 2-2 away against Dortmund. I think maybe 3 weeks is a perfect amount of time to have a vacation. The players get to empty their heads of football and travel and get some sun and then come back and don't be too far behind their original levels. So maybe this was the perfect time for Glimt to host City in the cold north.
Do Glimt usually set up like that in the Champions League, or did they adjust specifically for how Man City play against them?
I think Bodo Glimt, the one of the problems with Bodo Glimt is that they are so dominant in the Norwegian series, so they never get to practice against harder oppositions. So every match from the Conference League era to last year's Europa League and Champions League now, they practice every match on being dominated by the bigger teams. So I think the way that Kjetil Knutsen, the coach, has done it, he don't care about what the other team are going to do. He knows what they're good at, but he plays the way he wants to play every time, regardless of who's the opposition.
Martin, can I ask what it's like in the region in the days before these games? So over the last probably 10 years, there was that amazing game against Roma. You played Tottenham in the Europa League last season, in the Champions League this season, City. When one of those games is on the horizon, what's it like to be there?
It's a buzz. You really feel that you're alive, and you look forward to it. It's almost like it's Christmas every day for maybe 2 weeks, and you have this. You tell your wife, hey, ma'am, sorry, but I'm gonna be away the whole night of that match. You know this, and you make the preparations, and you wake up and you get your Glimt cup and you drink coffee from it, and everything leads to those matches. And so it's really the best. I'm living my best life now as a Glimt supporter. This is the best time to be alive as a Glimt supporter.
Excellent. Martin, there's a match coming up next Wednesday which sees you travel to the Civitas Metropolitano.
Yeah.
Bodo Glimt currently lying 27th in the league phase, 2 points off making the playoffs. Can you do it away in Madrid?
I think it's possible. Glimt, it's harder for Glimt to play on grass. As you maybe know, the pitch up in Bodø is artificial grass. So the ball moves faster in artificial grass, and I think that's the main reason Glimt dominates the way they do at home. But I think every player at Glimt believe that they can do it. Håkon Evjen, the midfielder from Glimt, he said before the match yesterday, and I quote him and have translated it freely. He said, "I feel that Pep is the kind of manager who wants to win all the matches he plays. So we can't think this will be an easy match." And I think that tells something about the mentality of the players. They are all together and all in one, and they don't think they are in any way below Atletico Madrid. They think their system, they believe in it, and they have confidence from the system they have trained in. So I think they will go to Madrid and have a feeling that, wow, this is open, we can do it. We just have to do our thing and trust ourselves.
Martin, thank you so much. Enjoy living your best lives. Long may it continue. And we'll maybe catch up with you again next week.
Yes.
Martin Sleipnes. And if you want to hear more of Martin and you speak Norwegian, check out the Encore Severing podcast, which is not about amputation, actually, although it sounds like it. JJ Sleepless Nights well, for Pep as well, actually, because their predicament, they are Man City now 7th, and they risk missing out on the top 8 as it stands.
That's a couple of bad results in a row and performances for Guardiola. And I think it's interesting hearing that the manager of Glimt would have set up the way he wants to against, the way he wants to play the way he wants to. It's Knutsen, isn't it? That's the boy in charge of them doing really well. And because what Glimt did was similar to what United did out of possession against them. So they were playing in like a deep, like a 4-4-2 block. So they were pressing them high, but they drop into a block. But the whole point of the block they're playing in was to show City wide. So they cannot play through the middle, which is exactly what United were trying to do against them. And so what they end up doing, as you can see in the first couple of goals, well, definitely in the first one anyway, is the fullbacks end up with the ball because it has to be shown wide because of the block. They go up the pitch, and then when they get into the opposition half, the only real pass on is probably inside and forward to Haaland, who's up front in his own. So when you put that ball across the middle of the pitch, it's dangerous because defenders can jump in if they anticipate it, and they do win the ball. And because you then push forward, you've left space everywhere. So like by doing that, you're creating it's quite an easy trap to set, and then you just punish them, hit them on the break. But then that said, they were excellent on the counter, like so good in possession, so quick, really aggressive. They were like determined. And City players, a lot of them looked like they didn't realise they were there. Like they just turned up and like, oh my God, I'm in a dream I don't want to be in.
That's exactly how it made me feel when you're watching them. There was a sort of, they were sort of stuck in 3rd or 4th gear. Particularly Rodri. Like I mean, how many games has Rodri played since he recovered from injury?
I don't know, but not many.
Yeah, it looks a bit odd. By the way, James, I was going to say just a word on Jens Petter Hauge.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because he moved to Eintracht Frankfurt from AC Milan when Ole Glasner was still Eintracht coach. It was very exciting because it was this sort of getting a kind of what was then a premium talent in Europe down to Eintracht Frankfurt. Didn't really work out. And so it's one of my favorite things when you get to see a guy like that whose career hasn't really worked out as you'd expected it to, scores such a good goal. Because that's the thing, right? They beat Man City, but they played really well. There's some real artistry in a couple of those goals too.
Jens Petter Hauge, who made it 3-0. Ryan Cherky then made it 3-1. Then Rodri gets a red card, which must have been quite a shock to his system. 2 yellow cards in 53 seconds.
Yellows as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, he's looked off the pace. Again, another player looked like he didn't quite know where he was and what was going on. Not the Rodri that you recognise.
He's coming back from a serious injury.
Yeah.
You remember how they never won a game when he didn't play, but they won all the games when he did? Their win percentage with him now is 50%, and their win percentage without him, 84.2.
I read an article, I think it was in the Telegraph, I can't remember who it was, it said that it looks like he's not confident in his own body now. So like he just doesn't trust what's going through, which is probably one of the side effects one of the direct effects of going through an ACL injury, especially at the age and the stage of his career he's at. So if a lot of it's to do with confidence, right? So if suddenly if not every pass you do is exactly where it's meant to go, which is what normally he does, you can trust whatever he does, it's going to go exactly there. Suddenly you start to double think it, and then that's what causes the mistake. And there's a couple of passes he gave away that were leading to turnovers as well. It just, like I said, it's not quite.
Goal he's complicit in.
Is that right? And then and that's an unbelievable hit. That's like goal of the month, goal of the. Yeah, I love that so much. It's so funny as well because you can't help but get excited about it when a team like Glimt takes City down. It's funny.
Martin mentioned the plastic pitch, which is something that we saw as a factor when Macclesfield upset Crystal Palace in the Cup not so long ago. How much importance should we give to that, do you think, Jack?
I mean, probably a fair bit. City's players are much less used to it. I think on the first goal, the way Max Lane rushed out and kind of misjudged the bounce of it, that was probably the only real goal-related situation that I thought, oh, that could be a bit of a pitch thing. But then, I mean, City still should have done better defending it after that. Like Elaine got back into position and then was completely ball watching as the ball came to Hoch at the far post. I mean, but apart from that, yeah, I mean, they were just thoroughly outplayed. I don't think the pitch can be an excuse for all of that.
Right. As for Erling Haaland, who had a bit of a miserable evening, couple of chances for him getting upset with his teammates after the game. He looked positively hurt that they'd lost. He said, "We're Man City. We can't go around and not win games. It shouldn't be like this."
He said it was embarrassing as well, I think. He's not very happy. And I think Guardiola said before the game that he was exhausted as well.
Right.
There's a theory that if you tell people they're exhausted, they then act like they feel it. So if you just don't tell people they're really tired, they'll be fine.
Well,
that's what I do to myself every day.
Glimt with 3 weeks off. City, by contrast, with 7 games, I think they've played so far this calendar year, and only 2 victories, as we mentioned. After the 2-0 defeat at Manchester United at the weekend, we talked about how they'd stopped scoring. Haaland himself has only got... he's only got penalties in the last... Is it 1 penalty in the last 8 consecutive appearances, which is his worst run since he was a Molde player. So some serious issues there for City, who, as I mentioned, still lie, 7th? So they're still in the automatic promotion places. Who have they got next time? Is it Kairat or something stupid like that? Oh, yeah. So they're still in the automatic promotion places, but... Their final game next Wednesday, when all the matches will be played simultaneously, we'll see them at home to Galatasaray, which, Anyway, that's Man City. Anything else you want to say about that, JJ?
No, I just really enjoyed that game. It was good fun. That's all I have.
Excellent.
That's what it should be, really, isn't it?
We'll see how much fun it is for Manchester City next week as they take on the Turkish champions and leaders Galatasaray, who, of course, have Victor Osimhen, fresh back from Cup of Nations. Galatasaray, who this evening will be hosting Atletico Madrid, Bodo's next opponents. Glimt's, next opponents. Galatasaray currently lying down in 18th spot. A couple of points above, missing out on the playoffs altogether. Right. Lots more to talk about from Tuesday's action, including what happened at Spurs and, of course, Arsenal at San Siro. Tuesday night, Tottenham taking on Borussia Dortmund at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Some questioned whether Thomas Frank would even be in charge for this game. It turned out to be his best result of the season, question mark. Seb, you were there. What did you think?
Yeah, I was there, and I went there with some trepidation because obviously I was expecting a toxic atmosphere. Obviously, the atmosphere around Thomas Frank and the club as a whole has been very, very negative and getting worse week by week. Actually, Spurs were very good. At least in the first half, they're very positive. They played with some pace. Their counter-pressing was very good. Some nice combination football on both sides. Jed Spence playing as a left winger. It worked. Not kind of Gareth Bale against Inter Milan worked, but it also felt as if, one of Spurs' issues, which is admittedly quite a long list, has been playing the right side of fullback on the left side. And now Spence goes forward. Destiny Dogi comes in as the kind of the orthodox left back. Spurs looked a lot more balanced as a result. But goodness, Jimbo, the Dortmund were poor.
Were they?
Kovac was angry afterwards. And it was one of those where it was really hard to defend the individual players. Because ever since they came back from the Winterpause, we've mentioned this on the Europod, their defensive standard has slipped completely. There's a real lack of intensity in their work without the ball. And they made almost no impression on Spurs whatsoever. And yes, Daniel Svensson got red carded in the first half, and that was a factor, but that felt like the moment which guaranteed the defeat rather than caused it, because Dortmund were, really, really disappointing.
Spurs had already taken the lead early on through Christian Romero with his 5th of the season. Svensson then gets sent off for that studs-up challenge on Udderberg. And then the second goal for Spurs comes from Dominic Solanke. Did you see this one, Jack?
Yeah, just really beautiful finish.
Magnificent. Flick flack. Yeah.
It's interesting, right? Because I was on WhatsApp with a few of my Borussia Dortmund supporting friends during this game, and they're very upset about the red card. But it's got to the stage now where, regardless of whether you think that kind of tackle should be a red card, it just is now. Because if you create a picture where VAR can freeze frame or slow something down and show studs making contact above kind of the middle of the shin, it's going to be a red card, right? And it's the price you pay for not tackling with good technique. It's kind of Svensson doesn't get enough of the ball. He plants on Udderberg just beneath his knee. It's a red card. Very, very difficult. Like the Dortmund press this morning, I was reading, they referred to it as an Ausfall, which is a failure. It's moving in a difficult in a difficult direction because some of these Dortmund players have designs of playing at a level above, of playing in the Premier League, particularly someone like Karim Adeyemi, Serge Guirassy, Nico Schlotterbeck. And you just see kind of, I think what I describe as the physical difference between German football or every other football other than English.
Right.
And I know there's a technical advantage. I know there's a financial advantage. But English teams just seem, even Tottenham in their current malaise, they just seem so much more powerful.
Right.
That it's
The intensity. That's an interesting point because one of the big questions about Tuesday's performance is how can they do this consistently in Europe, woeful in the Premier League at home, and yet they have the best home record in the Champions League. They lie fourth in the table. They've won every single game, and they haven't conceded a single goal at home. Is that because they are playing against less intense opponents?
Yeah, I think it's also a function of playing against lesser opponents in the broader sense too, because Spurs have had a pretty good draw. And this is the nature of the new format where you can have to go to away to Paris Saint-Germain and take your beating, but then you get to play FC Copenhagen, Slavia Prague, a Dortmund side who, for whatever reason, seemed a bit jaded. But I also think, and this is a half-baked theory, which I'm going to introduce live, which that always goes well, right? I think like there was a time in the Premier League where if you were a big club with lots of money, you didn't actually have to do a lot of things right to do quite well or to not embarrass yourself. You could have a bad season and that would mean you finish seventh, right? And that would be a sort of a Tottenham-like situation. I think the overall level in the Premier League has improved to such an extent, and also the quality of individual players has improved across the league to the point where you can't get away with it to the same extent. And so that kind of disparity in the Premier League has not disappeared, but it's been minimised. It's less forgiving.
All right.
Do you like that?
I love it. It's hot and fresh out your oven.
No one wants to challenge it. No one wants to like shoot me down.
Carve me a slice of that fact pie. How much time does this buy Thomas Frank, do you think?
I was talking to a couple of my friends yesterday. I don't think it's hugely relevant in determining his future. I think it's a terrible thing to say, and it's kind of an indictment of modern football in a way, but Burnley away is probably more important than the Champions League at home to Borussia Dortmund. And I can't believe I've said that sentence out loud. I've heard it.
You should have thought that one through, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't just a half-baked theory. That's just a crushing reality, isn't it? I also think one of the issues at Spurs is what's the coaching market at the moment? Who's the obvious successor? And I think that
they could get.
Yeah, and I think that's as much of a factor in Thomas Frank's future as how he did last night. It was great, good to win. I think a lot of the questions still remain until you see that performance replicated against Premier League standard opposition or Premier League standard intensity.
Right.
The question remains, right?
Turf Moor awaits. All right, let's move on to their North London neighbours, Arsenal, who were away in Milan on Tuesday night. JJ, you were also watching this one, seeing Arsenal being all masterful against the Serie A leaders and converting their chances as well.
Well, this is one of the most entertaining Arsenal performances I've seen in ages because they, like, whatever you want to think of my take on this, I just think they're really boring. And almost every game I watch them, I don't enjoy watching them. It feels like this massive lad slamming into the middle, nothing happens, set piece goal. So I'm not trying to be hugely critical of Arsenal. I don't care. But like they are being really boring. But this game was fantastic, really fun. And I was like your point about Premier League being such a high level. It's been a thing this last couple of weeks.
Right. I was just going to say, is it because Inter didn't play in a low block and actually tried to play?
Well, I think maybe, but then I think Inter have great players and they're also very well coached. Like they're the top of Serie A just now, aren't they? Right. So like they're doing very well. And they're good fun. And I've been thinking about this Premier League thing because for ages I've thought the Premier League's like, I know it's really high level, but is it actually that good? Because Champions League games have been really fun. Yeah. And I think the big teams go at the other big teams and there's more space opens up, so it becomes a bit more like what I remember football being rather than what this is, which is like a really high level Sunday league game of half the time. And I think like this game was fun as Arsenal were going at them. They were playing with intensity and pace from the start. I think Inter didn't expect it from the very start. I thought they'd come out and try and like quiet the crowd down, but they went for them. Didn't allow them to kill it. And so they went at them. They were excellent in the first half. I think Arsenal looked so well coached. I was thinking during it was like they could win a double. They could do Champions League and Premier League this year. They'd be good for the Champions League.
There's two other.
They could win the rest of them.
Yeah.
Why not? I shouldn't be allowed to.
World Cup this summer, getting back.
Yeah, they could win the World Cup. Yeah.
Olympics not far away.
And I think like, one of the standouts the narratives come out of it is whether Gabriel Jesus should now be starting for them. Like I love Jesus as a player. He looked like prime Aguero in this one. Like he was everywhere. He was doing far more work than Aguero ever did, though. Like
Right.
he was tracking back, trying to win tackles in the right back position. And I remember Pep Guardiola once talked about him being like the best defensive forward or defensive winger in the world. Something. Maybe played like a wing back against Real Madrid once for City. He was just everywhere doing everything you need him to. And they have different profiles now, like Arteta says up front. So they've got Jesus can be darting in about. He can lead the line. He's a lot better at winning headers than you'd think. He looks like the smallest of them all, but he actually scores quite a few of his goals from headers.
The second goal, for example.
What is impressive about them, I'm sure we'll come back to Jesus, is that they're so good at corners that even the short lads win headers.
Yeah.
Like Martinelli, 2 headers from corners the other day. Trossard towering at the back post.
Right.
How annoying must that be for a defender? It's okay if Gabriel wins one, but you got Trossard. Oh, he's massive.
And you have to set up like, zonally in that front post, but everyone does it to try and to protect that because you know they're going to go there. Because you can't just leave it close and then try and man mark them all the way to the front. But you can see all the players are like, where are they? Like, I don't know where they are. And then they just appear, and then it's like a disguise, a ruse. Someone else turns up.
Where's
so
the
well
block
coached.
going to occur when you run with them as well? That's really interesting. to
Yeah,
watch.
and it was something like 19 corners or something like that. It's some crazy number
That
they've
they've scored from.
Something like that,
Yeah,
18 or 19.
I think it is. Jack mentions Martinelli, who's not had the easiest of seasons. What about the pass, though, for the third goal?
Oh, yeah, outstanding. Like, pass of the game, pass of the night, pass of the week, maybe.
What did it look like, JJ?
It was an outside of the boot hit from, I think it's just by the halfway line. It goes right round the defenders and puts Gyökeres away, who runs like an extra fast fridge freezer through to it. Ends up finishing, was it that move? I think it was that one, when he ends up like pinging it in the top corner.
Yeah.
He's got a good finish on him from distance, that boy.
I mean, it just shows what he can do when he has like rampaging room, which is all of his goals are like that for Sporting, and he never gets that for
He has to get
Arsenal.
into rampage mode.
Right.
You have to charge him up.
Maybe he also should just be a sub when they're winning and the other team is...
But then you can't get the
committing
XP
mental.
up, so he enters that, like, the bar has to go into the magic bit, so when you get him on the pitch, he's got the special moves.
Nice.
Yeah.
Arsenal are guaranteed to finish top 2. What with City losing and that. They've had 7 wins out of 7 in the league phase. Only 2 defeats in all competitions all season. They did concede only their second goal in the Champions League to Sukic, and it was a lovely goal too, but no difference as it may. Arsenal at the weekend hosting Man United, JJ.
Yeah,
Is that going to be boring, Arsenal again?
No, well, I don't know, because it'd be interesting how they play against them. Just judging by what happened against City, and United will play in the United way now. So whether they can do that against Arsenal, who should lock everything down and make it very hard to play against, I don't know what Carrick will do to set that one up against Arsenal. I'm not sure what Arteta would do other than what he normally does, to try and like block the game down and win from it. Another interesting point is the last one in it is like whether Eze plays or not, because he hasn't been in the team for a while and he came on and did okay, I would say, but maybe not quite as much as you want. I was looking into it and on the Opta stats thing, so like Arsenal in the Premier League with Eze, they win 56% of their games. Without Eze, they've won 100% of their games.
Really?
Isn't that interesting? Because I love Eze as a player. But then the thing is, with an Arteta team at the moment, you can't really be trying things in an Arteta team. You want to be doing what what you have to be together. Yeah,
Unless you're trying to take more corners.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Right.
So I mean, there's going to be a reason for that. I've not looked into why that is.
Okay.
But
Get back
the
to
numbers
us.
speak for themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That idea is still very much in the warming up the oven phase. Very good. Shortly we'll find out what happened to Gyökeres' old club Sporting when they took on PSG, and touching on the other Champions League headlines from Tuesday. Shout out to Salford, who beat Swindon 3-2 in the one FA Cup third round tie that got postponed because of bad weather 10 days ago. It's actually the third time this season that Swindon have lost to Salford, and each time it's been with that same 3-2 scoreline. Salford's reward is a trip to Manchester City in round 4. Manchester City, where Salford lost 8-0 in round 3 last season. Manchester City, of course, won 10-1 in round 3 of this year's Cup. So that's nice. Anyway, Manchester City got beaten this week, as we saw. Holders, Paris Saint-Germain, did 2-1 away at Sporting Club de Lisbon. Watching this was Tom Williams, and he joins us now. Hey, Tom.
Hello, James.
Hello to you. So, quel gâchis, says L'Equipe this morning. What does that mean?
What a waste.
Oh, yeah?
What a waste. Yeah, well, it was a bit of a Groundhog Day for PSG in that they lost in exactly the same circumstances in which they've tended to lose over the last 12 to 18 months, completely dominating, not taking any of their chances, and then being punished late on in the game, and that was precisely what happened against Sporting.
You were wondering on the pages of The Athletic, Tom, whether PSG are different this season. Are they having a wobble or just getting going? This suggests more the wobble side of things, given, getting knocked out of the Coupe de France and not being top in Ligue 1 as well.
It does, and it's slightly puzzling because PSG's difficulties over the first half of the season could be explained away by the fact that they'd had this very grueling summer going into the Club World Cup, getting to the final, no real pre-season, straight into this campaign, loads of injury problems, but they've had a 2-week break over the festive period. Most of those injured players have now returned. You look at the team they put out last night. The only starting players who were missing were Achraf Hakimi, who's due back from the Africa Cup of Nations imminently, and João Neves in midfield, who isn't far away. He chose to start with Kvisha Kvaratskhelia on the bench. He came on and scored. I think that was just rotation. So PSG should be doing better than they are. And yet, paradoxically, they did play quite well. I mean, Luis Enrique said after the game, I think that was our best away performance of the entire season. The pressing was there, the intensity was there. They had 28 shots, albeit only 6 on target. They weren't necessarily creating high quality chances, but they were dominant. They just didn't punish Sporting. And as Luis Enrique himself said, what can you do? It's a shitty sport. It doesn't always reward the better team, and that's what's happened on this occasion. But it does leave PSG in a bit of a tricky position.
Right. Portuguese paper, A Bola, went with a slightly different interpretation. Glory, they said on their front page this morning. Do they deserve glory? Did they just get lucky, Tom?
No, they do deserve glory. They weren't just lucky. They moved the ball really nicely, Sporting. And they, apart from the 2 goals they scored, they did create some chances. And the goals when they came... the first goal, 74th minute, PSG failed to clear a corner. The ball falls to Luis Suarez, not that one, formerly of Olympique de Marseille, just to make that pill even more bitter for PSG to swallow. Kvaratskhelia equalises, and then late Sporting break, Francisco Trincao has a shot from range that Lucas Chevalier doesn't deal with very, very well. And Suarez is there again on hand to nod the ball home. So that, they were under the cosh for long periods, Sporting, but, they weren't giving up loads and loads of chances, and they were creating chances themselves. So it felt like a bit of a smash and grab. And in terms of the balance of play and the amount of possession PSG had, it was. But when they had the ball, Sporting looked pretty handy.
Tom, there's another really tricky moment for Chevalier, as you mentioned. I might just be watching the wrong games, but every time I see PSG concede, he seems to be, if not at fault, kind of questionable within the goal. What's been the reaction to him? Because obviously he's got pretty difficult shoes to fill with Donnarumma.
Yeah, well, there was a huge amount of curiosity about how he would fare. There was a huge amount of expectation because he is seen as France's future number 1, and that's the trajectory that he has been on since his teenage years, coming through the ranks at Lille. And one of the curious things about Chevalier was that he never used to make mistakes like this when he was at Lille. And you wonder whether, is it just the spotlight? Is it playing for a new team? Is it the pressure? You go back to the UEFA Super Cup, which was his PSG debut. He's at fault for, I think it was Spurs' second goal. And there have been times throughout the season when PSG lost at Marseille, which was in, when was that, September, October? He's at fault for the goal early on. There have been other shaky performances. There was one very convincing recent performance in the Trophée des Champions, again against Marseille, where he's man of the match, saves, I think maybe a couple of penalties in the penalty shootout. And you thought, okay, he's had his 6 months bedding in period. He now knows the drill, and we're now going to see the Chevalier that we saw at Lille. And yet there again, last night, he's at fault again. And as you say, when you're stepping into the shoes of Gianluigi Donnarumma, who was so pivotal to PSG winning the Champions League last season, who is the reigning Yashin Trophy award holder, it does make those mistakes even more noticeable.
Although arguably Donnarumma might not have made the difference this midweek, given what happened to him away at Bodo Glimt. You mentioned a slightly tricky position for Paris Saint-Germain. They are still currently 5th in the Champions League phase. However, with most of the teams below them still to play, They could end up as low as 13th by the end of this week's action. Ooh.
So PSG suddenly find themselves in a really tricky position. They could be out of the top 8 depending on what happens in tonight's matches. They're at home to Newcastle in their final fixture next week. Curiously, Luis Enrique said that qualifying automatically for the knockout phase might not necessarily be a good thing because last season PSG had to go through the playoff round, beat Brest 10-0 on aggregate. And it kind of helped them find a bit of form. And because they are short of form at the moment, they're out of the Coupe de France. They currently don't have all that many fixtures lined up in February as things stand, assuming that they do finish in the top 8 of the Champions League. In the piece that I wrote that you mentioned, James, I was suggesting that might be a good thing. Gives players, time to work on their fitness, gives Luis Enrique more time on the training ground. But he suggested that he might actually prefer another couple of games, and he might actually end up getting a couple of games that he wasn't depending on.
Yeah, indeed so. Tom Williams, thank you so much. Look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Cheers, James. Speak soon.
Tom Williams, in what appears to be a pretty well-furnished library.
A nice setup, that Tom Williams.
It looks like a public library, but it can't have been because he was shouting about PSG.
I think it's his own private library.
Damn.
I think there's more to Tom Williams than we know.
I think he bought those books at like a knockoff price.
Or it's a green
a job lot, like
Might
pubs
be all
do.
the unsold copies of Vava Boom, but that's unlikely because it's such an excellent book. It is an excellent book. Seb, I know you've got to disappear now, but before you do, among the other results on Tuesday night was another bad one for a German club with Bayer Leverkusen getting beaten 2-0 at Olympiacos. What happened here?
Actually, Leverkusen didn't play too badly. I haven't seen the XG, but they created plenty of chances. Artur missed one, Patrick Schick missed one. But goodness, how often we say this? Like, just defensive discipline let them down. So the first Olympiacos goal, missed header at the near post from Cafane. Olympiacos take the lead. And then what is a very, very nice finish from Taremi, former Inter Milan, Porto Taremi. But, look, Bodø, the French centre-half, was signed over the summer as one of the kind of the linchpins of this new Leverkusen side, meant to be part of the experience to anchor the kind of the development of these young players. And it's another mistake. He's beaten far too easily by the ball around the outside of the defence. And good work, let down by a weak defence. And Hullman's got a problem there. I mean, had that really difficult loss at home to Stuttgart, got beaten by Hoffenheim, which, Hoffenheim are improved, but that's not a good result. And now in real danger of going out of the Champions League in the group stage.
Bayer Leverkusen currently lying 19th on 9 points. 1 point and a couple of places behind them are Olympiacos, who with this victory moved up into the potential playoff spots. We'll see what happens next week. You head off, Seb. Maybe we'll catch up with you on Thursday's show. Who knows? Depends what the Bundesliga sides get up to.
It would be a pleasure.
Lovely to see you for now. Jack, meantime, you on Tuesday night were watching Real Madrid's performance against Monaco. Real Madrid, who've been knocked out of the Copa del Rey last week against second division opposition. This weekend won, but saw several of their players and their president whistled and booed by the fans. What a way to respond.
Yeah, this was such a fun game.
Oh, yeah?
JJ was saying that sometimes Champions League games are a bit more, there's a bit more spice in them. And this was just end to end. Monaco, despite losing by 5 goals, were pretty good. They attacked a lot. They had some good shots. They had some nice, intricate moves, just were not very good at shooting. But Madrid loved having the space that Monaco granted them. Took the lead very early, which settled them down. The second goal was absolutely gorgeous. Camavinga doing a kind of little double touch to get out of trouble. A lovely Goulart pass for Vinicius Junior, who set up Mbappe. And then in the second half, every 3 or 4 minutes, Madrid seemed to have like a 4-on-3 break. Really exciting. A couple of things stood out. Vinicius celebrating very ostentatiously with Alvaro Arbeloa after scoring his goal. And Jude Bellingham celebration after his goal.
So he mimes drinking.
Yeah.
And he said afterwards, my celebration, a lot of people say a lot of things. You can cry about it or enjoy it, which I think is, he's saying how he reacts to other people. Is he, or how we should react to his celebration?
Great question. I mean, I suppose to follow his interpretation, I'm drinking down all the hate. I wondered if it was a reference, whether there had been rumours and stuff. He says, I send this joke to the fans. They know the truth. Anyway, he mimes drinking after a goal. I don't know
there
what it means.
There were some like internet rumours going around that he's always out in the clubs and things like that. I
thought it might.
But it could all just be nonsense. I don't know. I can't believe anything you read anywhere now.
You know the truth, JJ.
that's what Bellingham wrote on his app, isn't it?
Oh, right,
The Jude Bellingham app.
Yeah.
James Horncastle's already. Yet. Vinny Jr. celebrating, and he had a lot to celebrate, set up 3 goals and scored another.
Yeah, really good. Very impressive. His goal was actually quite funny because he had, as you said, he had a hand in 3 others, and Mbappe was right there. It's like, can you just pass me that? And he just ignored him and then wouldn't even celebrate with Mbappe. I think they were laughing about it afterwards. But yeah, I mean, for his first Champions League goal of the season, which I suppose is indicative of
that's remarkable.
The underperformance under Alonso. Yeah. He just looked like a classic new manager man, liberated.
Is it Camavinga at left back? Was he playing more inside? I was just thinking, looking at that lineup and I was doing a sensible transfers thing recently, because like Vinny Jr. probably needs to not do any defending and stay wide, and then Bellingham's going to go forward. So is that the idea?
So when they didn't have the ball, Bellingham went to the left. Camavinga was left back in possession, moved into midfield, and actually Arbeloa brought on Ceballos at half time for Raul Asensio. So actually, in the second half, most of the second half, they had 6 central midfielders, like 1 at right back, 1 at left back, 1 at centre back, 3 in midfield. So it was, strong echoes of Pep Guardiola's midfields within midfields.
Very nice. Real Madrid are away at Benfica next week against their former manager, Jose Mourinho. Benfica, who are battling for their own Champions League survival. They've got a huge game coming up Wednesday night against Juventus, which should be a tasty one. Copenhagen had a 1-1 draw with Napoli, which was pretty impressive, given that they were down to 10 men when they equalised.
Scott McTominay
with the opening goal after Copenhagen had Thomas Delaney sent off. But then Napoli been absolutely woeful, as Conte's sides often are in Europe. Couldn't manage to score another goal, and eventually the Danes... Are they Danish? Eventually, the Danes equalised. Ajax with a late come from behind 2-1 victory away at Villarreal. That maintains their slender chances of making the playoff stages. Ajax currently still 31st, but they are 2 points off 24th spot, so it does depend a lot what else happens on Wednesday night. Villarreal, though, despite the fact that they're currently 3rd in La Liga, and having their best domestic campaign ever, are already out of the Champions League. As are Kairat out of Kazakhstan, who got beaten 4-1 by Club Brugge, or Brugge, as you prefer, very early on Tuesday afternoon.
Not often you see a consolation goal in the final minute in a 4-1 defeat celebrated quite so strongly.
He took the shirt and gave it the full, put it on the corner flag, I think.
Probably won't play in the Champions League at home again for a little while. Fair play.
Well done to them. Coming up on Wednesday night, 9 more matches, of course. The early games probably happening by the time you hear this. Galatasaray, Atletico Madrid and Karabag against Eintracht Frankfurt, who've just fired their manager. You got Chelsea against Paphos, or possibly Bathos in their case. That's at 8 o'clock, as is Marseille-Liverpool. Newcastle, PSV, Juve, and that clash with Jose Mourinho's Benfica. Atalanta against Athletic Club de Bilbao. Slavia Prague against Barcelona, and Bayern against Union Saint-Gilloise. Now, last thing to mention today is Monday night's action in the Premier League, which was the last game of match day 22, and saw Brighton and Bournemouth face each other. Did you see this?
It's one of the only days in the past few weeks and months and years that I haven't watched football.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm sure you saw Charalampos Kostolis' remarkable bicycle kick.
I didn't, but I'd like to hear about it.
Okay, Jack?
Jumped into the air like you do with a bicycle kick.
Yeah,
really good, really athletic. He looks really good, this Kostolas guy.
Yeah. Greek teenager.
They signed another one, Seamas as well, who's a bit more of a number 9. But yeah,
a few good Greek players coming through just now.
Yeah, incredible athleticism, and he just, some people just look so healthy. This guy just looks so.
Oh really?
Yeah,
you look pretty healthy, Jack.
Oh, thanks. I don't feel it. Yeah, good.
Yeah, could be the lighting in here. I'm not sure. It was the equaliser, and it came in the 91st minute. So what a dramatic time for a bicycle kick.
The best time. Or the first 5 minutes against Denmark.
Also, that works too. Yeah. Bournemouth had taken the lead through a slightly controversial penalty, would you say, Jack?
No.
Okay.
Thought it was okay. Thought it was okay.
It
did touch him.
All right. One of the reasons, JJ, that you didn't mark this one out for a night in watching the football was that Brighton are mid-table and Bournemouth are mid-table, and that's exactly where they stay after this result.
It's everything I stand against.
Okay.
Also, I was playing football that night.
All right. It is the middle of January, so transfer talk is rife. One last thing before we move on. The troubled times at Crystal Palace look set to continue because it looks like Jean-Philippe Mateta could be the next one out. In Tuesday's European show, we talked about Juve's interested in him. It now seems that Aston Villa, who rather carelessly let Daniel Marlin go to Roma, need to get Mateta in to replace him. There's talk of a €40 million fee would be only about 35 million. Yeah.
Sounds about right for Mateta.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think he's... I don't think he's good at being a target man as you'd think he is. He looks like he can hold the ball up. And he is good at that in times when he has it under control, but his first touch isn't always perfect. He gets a lot of chances, which indicates that he's a very good player, but he also has a tendency to miss those. When he's on form, as any striker will, he scores loads. And it's kind of actually similar to like Tammy Abraham. Loads of XG, but misses a lot of the chances.
Tammy Abraham.
Yeah, but I think Mateta's fantastic as a player. Still probably underrated and deserves a move to a team competing in Europe. He should be playing in Europe all the time. Although he is this season, so I'm lying and I'm wrong. Like normal.
All right, well, we'll see what that does to the fragile situation at Selhurst Park. That wraps it up for today's show. Of course, we're back in about 24 hours' time with the Thursday edition of Totally, rounding up all the Wednesday night games and looking ahead to matchday 23 in the Premier League as well. For now, it's many, many thanks to Tom for joining us earlier and Martin as well. From Norway to Seb Stafford-Bloor to you, Jack, and you, JJ. Good luck with your single. What did you settle on for the title?
I've settled on If Bergkamp Can by JJ Bull. If you want to look for it on all the streaming services, it's on all of them.
Okay, let's play out with a little taster of If Bergkamp Can, with a thanks as well to Grayson and Charlie in the booth, and you listener wherever you are. We'll be back with you soon. For now, from all of us here, it's goodbye. The Totally Football Show podcast is available 3 times a week, bringing you all the football news you could reasonably be expected to care about. We've got views, we've got stats, we've got analysis, we've got some of the best football writers around, and the whole thing is absolutely free. So have a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the usual places by clicking on the link below.